Released in 2017, Justice League was meant to be a huge hit for both Warner Brothers and DC, as it would finally deliver DC fans the Justice League on the big screen. There was only one problem. The film itself was not good, and even worse when you look at the state of the DCEU at the time. You see, Warner Brothers didn't like Zack Snyder's direction with the film following the poor reception of Dawn of Justice. So they hired Joss Whedon to work with Snyder on rewrites and reshoots, but Snyder eventually left following the death of his daughter, so Whedon had to step in and take over the reshoots himself. And this would boost the film's budget to be $300 million. It only made $661 million, which isn't too bad, but it had to gross $750 million to break even, and it lost Warner Brothers $60 million. Years since its release, fans demanded Snyder's original version to be brought to life, which they eventually got in 2021, and its hail is a massive improvement over this one. Justice League is set 2 years after Superman's death, as the world continues to mourn him. Batman and Wonder Woman recruit the Flash, Cyborg, and Aquaman to save the world from Steppenwolf and his army of parademons. This is one of those films I liked when it first came out, but over the years started to really annoy me with how messy it is. For the rest of this video, I'm just going to refer to Snyder's version as the Snyder Cut, and this one as Whedon's version. Now to start off, there are some things I like about this movie. Emphasis on some. I like this film's younger and less confident version of the Flash. He has funny lines.
Barry Allen, Bruce Wayne.
You said that like it explains why there's a total stranger sitting in the dark in my second favorite chair.
You must be Barry. I'm Diana.
Hi, Barry. I'm Diana. That's not right.
I've never done battle. I've just pushed some people and run away.
Like brunch. Like, what is brunch? You wait in line for an hour for essentially lunch.
Okay, maybe not a lot. I love Jason Momoa's attitude with Aquaman.
You're out of your mind, Bruce Wayne.
Just like a bat. I dig it. My man.
And it's also really cool to finally see the Justice League together on the big screen. But the biggest problem with this movie about the Justice League is that the chemistry within the team isn't really that good. It doesn't really feel like there's a connection between these characters, and I honestly doubt this issue would go away if these characters had their own movies beforehand.
Look, I don't know you, and I don't know how you got these gifts.
Gifts? If these are gifts, then why am I the one paying for them?
Well, we gotta stop him.
That's the plan.
That's the plan. Okay, we're not ready for...
I mean, do you talk to fish? The water does the talking, of course.
The only characters that have any sort of chemistry is Bruce and Diana, since they're the only ones who interact the most.
We're asking people we don't know to risk their lives.
I know. That's how this works.
You know you can't do this forever.
I can barely do it now. We make it through tonight. You can stay in the shadows forever.
If we get through the night.
There's Superman as well, but he doesn't join them till the end, so he doesn't have much interaction with them.
Glad I didn't miss this.
So am I.
Yeah.
There's either no chemistry or not enough for this team to stand out compared to the Avengers, who had their own movies to flesh out their personalities and development. And that's the biggest thing the Justice League are missing: development. Everyone just starts and ends the same with very little change. Flash just goes from wanting friends just to being part of a team. Aquaman does go from wanting to be alone to working with others, but nothing really happens to him that pushes him to change, so he just comes across as passive. Cyborg doesn't have any development. Well, he did in the Snyder Cut, but I'll get to that. Superman sure as hell doesn't have any development, unless you count him going from dead to alive as development. But that's the other thing too. In the Snyder Cut, these characters, while their chemistry was still lacking a little, they were still fleshed out and had development. Bruce and Diana were more accepting to the fact that Superman was dead and had to carry on without him despite how hard it would be. And when they hear that the Mother Box could bring him back, they all agree that they need him against Steppenwolf. In Whedon's version, it's kind of the same reason, but the movie plays it more like Bruce feels sorry for Superman dying and just wants him back. And Diana just aggressively tells him, "No, you big baby, suck it up and accept it."
Even if there's a fraction of a chance.
The what? That we could raise a monster like Luthor did?
Is it a risk? Yes, but it's necessary.
Why? Because of your guilt?
When it comes to resurrecting Superman, it feels integral to the plot in the Snyder Cut, but in Whedon's version, it just feels like a side quest. In fact, they seem to forget that Steppenwolf is after this Mother Box, and don't consider or even prepare for him to arrive when it's activated. Speaking of Steppenwolf, this ugly Liam Neeson looking buffoon is the worst character in the film. Everything about this guy is just bland and forgettable. From his design, his CGI, his dialogue, his motivations, and even attacks, it all just adds up to him being one of the lamest villains DC has put out. And it wouldn't have mattered if Snyder stayed. His design change was a studio request. Okay, but did you really need him to say the most generic shit?
I will take my place among the new gods. My axe is still slick with the blood of your sisters. This world is my right. Primitive beings, you have the blood of the old gods in you. The old gods die.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who?
He is so much more interesting in the Snyder Cut, because Snyder made him out to be someone trying to redeem himself for his master and was desperate for his approval.
You betrayed him. Your own family. I saw my mistake. I slaughtered those who sought his throne. You still owe the Great One 50,000 more worlds.
In Whedon's version, he just wants to terraform the Earth to be in his image. That's it. He's just one of those, I want to take over the world because I'm evil. Despite the League not living up as much in the Snyder Cut, they are much more underdeveloped in Whedon's version.
Big round table, 6 chairs, right there.
But room for more.
A room for more.
That one didn't age quite so well.
What else sucks about this movie? Oh yeah, it's not well made as a film itself. This movie has some pretty dog shit visuals, even for a superhero movie released in 2017, when films like these existed. Justice League CGI is a mixed bag of ew. Half the times it looks decent at best, and the other half just looks amazingly fake. One thing that sticks out like a sore thumb is Superman's upper lip. Henry Cavill was contracted to not shave his mustache for Mission Impossible 6, so this was the awful result we were left with. And it's just painful to look at. Man, that sucks to have a shit effect cover your mouth, eh? The green screen is painful to look at too, and it's even more obvious with the scenes that were reshot. It's really hard to enjoy some of these action scenes when the CGI and green screen is distracting you with how mediocre it is. Also, the score is just so underwhelming, especially for one done by Danny Elfman. It's not impactful during the emotional scenes or even the action scenes. Speaking of emotion, Lois and Martha barely look or act affected by Superman's death, apart from the opening scene. By the way, it's funny that the most Zack Snyder thing in this version wasn't even done by Snyder.
Before it blows, everybody knows.
That was a lie.
Most of the things that Snyder intended to do are either cut or just watered down in Whedon's version. Like, remember how important Flash's time travel was in Snyder's version, since it showed how powerful Flash really is? Cut that shit. We gotta have him save this family. Yeah, this movie keeps cutting back to this family as they hide from the parademons. The humor is just mostly unfunny. It's like they were trying to do exactly what the Avengers did, and it just doesn't fucking work.
He's confused. He doesn't know who he is.
Pet Cemetery.
I knew you didn't bring me back because you like me.
I don't. Not.
This janitor's wife had some strong words for the aliens she says stole her man.
My Howard is a good man, and these aliens are gonna probe him? I'll stick a probe up your alien.
Get fucked.
I can't decide if this scene with Aquaman is meant to be funny or not.
I don't want to die. I'm young. There's shit that I want to do. I never really embraced the sea or the land. I've been a loner my whole life. But being part of something bigger like this.
A part of me wants to laugh, but then a small part of me questions the point of it.
You say a word about this, you'll meet every piranha I know.
I honestly didn't hear anything after "we're all gonna die."
The final battle just looks unappealing. Why is everything so red? Why was this better than the dark and gritty setting of Chernobyl? Yeah, the Snyder Cut clearly stated that the area is Chernobyl, therefore abandoned. They just kept that area in Whedon's version, didn't mention exactly where it is, and just added some Russian people to it. Again, that subplot is so fucking dumb. The way Steppenwolf is defeated is just so lame compared to the Snyder Cut. Instead of actively defeating them together, he just gets eaten by his minions because they smell his fear.
Get off me! I command you!
That is fucking lame. But that's just why this film is a mess. Now let's talk about how this film is a mess. That didn't make sense, did it?
No, it did not. But you see, the things that make no sense have to make sense to make no sense.
What?
You maniac! You burned it up, darn you! Darn you all to heck!
Now, Warner Brothers and Joss Whedon could both be equally blamed for this movie's failure, but I think Whedon is just one step closer to being the sole reason for it. It doesn't help that he was a complete pig on set.
What a dick.
But even beyond that, he just didn't do a good job with this movie. I get why Warner Brothers chose him to work with Snyder. He previously directed Avengers 1 and 2, so he should have a great understanding of how to make a movie with a superhero team, right? Nope. If you've seen the Snyder Cut, or at least familiar with Snyder's films and have watched this movie, it's very clear which scenes were Snyder's and which ones were Whedon's. Unlike Snyder's previous DC films, there's a lot of humor and a more light-hearted tone in this one, which wouldn't be a problem if it was at least consistent and can work, and Joss just didn't make it work. The humor ranges from being okay to just unnecessary. I mean, Avengers had humor too, but they managed to balance it by only having it at appropriate times, or at least to make light of some situations. This movie just ranges from having a serious tone to just being silly for 2 hours straight.
Yeah, that was a great way to get rid of Superman.
I'm not doing this on purpose.
Right, because you can't control the machine.
So is this a bad time to bring up my blood sugar? Very hungry.
Also, there's things that were seen in Snyder's cut but were cut by Joss in this version, and it baffles my mind at why. For example, everything revolving around Cyborg's role. He had a troubled relationship with his father since he was so focused on his research that he didn't bother to watch his son's football game. Afterwards, he got into a crash that killed his mother and left him severely injured and was gonna die. His father couldn't accept it and used the mother box to bring him back to life in cybernetic conditions. Victor grew to hate how he looked but eventually appreciated with what he could do while still hating how he looked.
Now all of that emotional shit is just cut down and just told to us in Whedon's version.
I lost your mother in that accident. I couldn't bear to lose my son.
But you did. I got a language in my head that I don't speak. Every day I wake up different. Couldn't do that last night.
How about this scene where Victor saves his father?
I'll die before I tell you. At last, one that doesn't whine. But you will scream. I'll die before I tell you. You'll die if you don't.
Did you feel that emotional reaction in Snyder's version? And did you notice how standard and bland it is in Whedon's version?
Honestly, I feel like Joss looked at what Snyder did and willingly said, nah, reshoot that shit. What the f***?
Even worse, his father's death in the Snyder Cut had so much impact on Cyborg and the story in terms of stakes and emotion, but that's cut too.
Why?
But it's not just Cyborg. Whedon wrote Batman to be weak, say shitty jokes, and just uncharacteristically get himself killed because he didn't think he could lead the team.
Come on, follow me, you damn insects.
Nick, my nut.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Also, Superman is just treated like shit. The way he's brought back to life to him showing up in the end, it just feels like there's no weight or excitement to it.
You're all too weak to see the truth.
I believe in truth, but I'm also a big fan of justice.
Again, compare that to the Snyder Cut.
For dark side.
Not impressed.
Everything from the direction to the score, it truly feels like a legendary character has come back. Here, there is none of that. You feel nothing.
Is this guy still bothering you?
See, this is why I solely blame Joss Whedon for this movie. Like, the whole tone and jokes was a studio request. I can handle that. What I can't handle is Whedon's treatment of what Snyder left behind.
Say what you want about Dawn of Justice or even Man of Steel, Snyder at least took it seriously and had a vision for it. He treated these characters with respect, at least in my opinion. Whedon comes in and just says,
I'm the Homelander, and I can do whatever the fuck I want.
You can call us the Super 7.
Please don't call us
What, you don't like it?
Yeah, this is just a sad mess of a superhero film that wasn't done justice. But
resulting in effects that are poor, characters that are underdeveloped, a villain that's painfully bland, a score that's lackluster, and mostly unfunny humor that ruins any gravity or seriousness the movie has. In my opinion, this movie really was the reason the DCEU was a mess. Not to say that the movies that came out afterwards were bad. This is just another one of those big budget films with a troubled production with mediocre results. Like Sony's Amazing Spider-Man 2 and especially Universal's The Mummy, this movie can serve as a prime example on how to not make a film to set up a cinematic universe. So here's fingers crossed for James Gunn's Superman and DCU.
man, is there a better superhero film I could look at next? Well, that's tolerable. At least!